Hi, welcome to this week's video. I'm sorry that I didn't post last week. This video took a lot longer to prep than like it usually does, and I underestimated how long it would take to make these set of slides. So, sorry for the inconvenience. Moving on though, this week we're gonna be comparing some software comparisons. So, on my last video, it was about having it was comparing the like just notifying the overall software sales and rankings and like just giving it out publicly. So like this video is gonna be it's gonna be more about comparing it. So it'd be kind of in a similar format to the Switch the console comparisons video. I had one for each company's consoles. So yeah, it's gonna be like that, but it's all gonna be all companies like games. So there are going to be two sections. The total software sales, which you could see, which compares the total software sales of a console to the total software sales of another console. We're also going to be comparing the software itself, like for example the games. So the games, like we'll be comparing it to other games, and if necessary to other consoles. Keep in mind, just for this version in particular, it's mostly going to include just Nintendo Switch games because there's no because my chart doesn't go back far enough. I don't really have enough consistent data for most of the Sony and Microsoft games. But as time goes on, it will be a little bit more balanced with Sony and Microsoft games as well. Like I know you guys might want to see stuff like Ratchet and Clank compared, or have Grand Theft Auto 5, but not I can't really find consistent data. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to look at some total software sales. So, our first comparison is comparing Nintendo Switch to the Nintendo Wii launcher line in terms of software. So the Wii is Nintendo's second best-selling console in terms of software, and it eclipsed about 900. It eclipsed about a third. 900 million, and eclipsed that, and it got about 930 million about. So overall in the last quarter, so keep in mind we launched in November 2006, and the Nintendo Switch launched in March 2017. So that means the holiday seasons are launch aligned, and the Wii also isn't at the end of its quarter like the Switch is. Like the Switch is as of March 2021. So that'll be for all of our games and consoles. So without the way, yeah, in the last quarter, the Wii is currently in November 2010. So the Wii did gain ground the Switch by 2.22 million units. So that would be because of the November month, and anyways, October and December, October and September, they're usually stronger than the normal non-holiday seasons because they have a lot of new annual releases. I did complete the chart so that the Wii ended in the December month, because that's how often Nintendo updates their financial reports. I put that number there in it because I'm estimating the monthly sales as well. So yeah. Overall, I think the Switch will probably catch the Wii, based off where it's ranking. Like 2011, with the Wii's 2011, it took a lot. The Wii kind of fell a little later in its lifespan in comparison to its hardware sales. The Wii did have a lot of trouble in 2010 keeping up with its competition, and it ended up getting lagged behind in the midway for 2010 because of the overall competition, and it ended up and holiday season it did end up recovering, but then it kind of dashed down, and it got a price cut in June, which helped it May, which helped it sustain throughout May and June, but then it just died, and in the holiday season it was a little bit it was competitive with the PlayStation 3, but it didn't really catch the 3DS or Xbox 360. But in software wise, it was a little bit different. It actually overtook the DS before the 3DS launch, in terms of software. Like not in total software count, but in overall sales quarterly, out. It was like outselling the DS's software, and it managed to take it by about going into 2009. That's when it overtook it. despite the hardware sales not really overtaking until the price cut the 3DS in August 2011. So yeah, the Wii had a much higher attach rate than the DS did, and it also lasted longer, even being compared even throughout the first half of 2021. For most weeks, it stayed ahead of the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And it even like was very close to the Xbox 360 in the holiday season. It did fall behind after the holiday season. It didn't really keep up. It initially was like right below the Xbox 360, but it then just died because Nintendo wasn't really releasing any games for it in 2012. Yeah, so in the last 12 months, Nintendo Switch has like grown almost 51 million units. That's really good, impressive, and currently the Wii leads by about 63 million units, which, so based off where it's going, I would say within the next year, the Nintendo Switch will overtake the Nintendo Wii launch aligned. Actually, I'd say in 9 months. I would say by the end of the holiday season, because I have to remember that 2011 was a drop from 2010. 2010 in software-wise didn't actually drop that much from 2009. Some estimates say that it even gained, so yeah, so let's move on. Moving on to the Nintendo DS comparison, which is the best-selling Nintendo console in terms of software as well as hardware. In the last quarter, the Nintendo DS gained ground by about 15.22 million units of software. So that would be because like the DS like the Wii is going into the holiday season. When launch aligned, it's in November 2008. So the DS would be going into the holiday season, and also, it's one thing that was surprising I noticed on the software sales is that the Switch got an early lead on the DS, and while it wasn't doing amazing in 2019, the DS couldn't catch it, and then going into 2008, which was its peak year, even then it was tough. And then once the Switch powered up, the DS had stood no chance. The Switch continued to gain ground, and in the last 12 months, the Switch has grown its lead by about 30.88 million, which can't be said with the hardware launcher line. With the hardware launcher line, it's like an even battlefield, maybe slightly in the DS's favor. Currently, though, the Switch leads the DS by about 87 million units, and the DS did take a considerable drop off in 2009 in terms of software. In 2010, and in 2010 it ended up getting wiped out. It ended up being falling just below the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in terms of software that year. So it kind of dropped earlier in terms of software than it did in terms of hardware. It didn't really get new releases going to 2010. Like, it did get some, but there weren't as many big new releases, with the main saving graces of the latter half of the life of the DS being Pokemon Black and White and Pokemon Black and White version 2, which managed to get amazing launches despite being very late in the DS's life cycle. So this was a new update added to Flourish. So you can now do a reveal type. So I'm gonna see what you guys think of it. I couldn't actually change it on my old on the Flourish state things that I've already made. So I already made the Wii and DS one before this update came. But yeah, I decided to try it out, and please tell me what you guys think of the reveal in the comments section below. So with the Switch versus PlayStation 5, it's a pretty close battle. In month 5, the Switch did gain due to Splatoon 2 launching. Overall, I think it will, based on where it is currently, the PlayStation 5 probably will stay close to the Switch launcher line. But it's hard to tell whether it could compete with the Switch going into where the Switch is right now. Considering we're not sure how strong the third-party support and first-party support for the PlayStation 5 would be in its 3rd or 4th year. So it's a little bit tricky, but right now it's gonna be a close match. So in the last quarter, the Nintendo Switch has grown its lead. It's actually taken the lead by, and it's grown by 4.095 million units. Currently, the Switch leads overall of the PlayStation 5 by about 3,495,000. Moving on, we have Nintendo Switch versus PlayStation 4. For those who don't know, the PlayStation 4 is the best-selling console in terms of software of all time. Yes, it didn't overtake the PlayStation 2 in hardware, but its tie ratio was much higher than the PlayStation 2's, and it actually managed to overtake its lifetime sales over January to March quarter, so the end of the fiscal year, Japanese fiscal year for 2020 to 2021. So and you can see here because the Switch is actually having a like the Wii, the Switch, it's like the Wii, but with a longer life cycle. So the Switch is actually having, meaning that the Switch is actually having a tough time against the PlayStation 4. And that shows the PlayStation 4 was also in a November month this quarter, going to November this quarter, November 2017, which was based off memory. It was its peak year for for console sales and for software sales. I think it was its second biggest year, with 2018 being down year on year, then 2019 peaking. So yeah, so in the last quarter, the PlayStation 4 has gained ground, but actually grown its lead by about 28 million units. In the last 12 months, the PlayStation 4 has actually managed to outsell the Switch in the last 12 months, launch aligned, by about 17.32 million units, which is impressive, considering the main thing holding the Switch back from not overtaking the PlayStation 4 in the last 12 months, or closing in, is mainly due to their COVID and there being a lack of new releases. After Animal Crossing, there was a drought. There was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, but that wasn't really that wasn't a major release. It was a couple million. We didn't have any even July we had Paper Mario the Origami King. June, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. That didn't really sell. It got to 3 million. Paper Mario Origami King 3 million. Going to 3 million as well. But no big releases. August was dry. September we had 3D All Stars, which was one of our first major releases. It ended up having lifetime sales of just under 10 million units after its discontinuation on March 31st. Then we had you guys see what I mean? And we also had nothing over the holiday, no big releases. The biggest release we had was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which yes, it got a 3.5 million launch quarter, but it showed no consistency across quarters. Going into quarter one on the calendar year, January to March, it barely scraped 200,000 units. That was a big drop. That's an extreme drop. Really considering that it's a Zelda game. Yes, it's a spin-off, but look at Breath of the Wild. It's doing I know it wouldn't outsell the Breath of the Wild quarterly in its second quarter, but it had no sales consistency, and even now we had much more big releases in 2021 than 2020, which is why I believe the Switch is 2021, and actually no, I don't even think 2021. 2022 is probably going to be the peak software year for Nintendo Switch. 2021's definitely going to outsell 2020 because of the lack of software releases in 2020. But 2020, I would say 2022 would be once we get to 2022 and by the time we go to 2022, I would say the third party support would be at its peak because the Switch has been consistently holding a 30 million barrier for 2 years straight, a near 30 million barrier. So, and hardware sales and software sales have been selling over 200 million units of software in a fiscal year. So that would really show. And also another thing to note is that the PlayStation 4 going to 2016 going to 2017, the PlayStation 4 actually had literally almost every third party game had the PlayStation 4 on it. So you need to consider that, because that's not the same case with Nintendo Switch. Like, it wasn't that's that much of a case in the first 3 years, but 2017, 2018, 2019, it was like that. And it made it very hard for any other consoles to compete with it because PlayStation 4 had a hardware advantage, like extreme sales hardware advantage, and it also had, pretty much, and because of the like not so good first party support for the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4 like just took away, and we all know what happened to the Wii U. That was just a flop, and Nintendo Switch, even after it came, Nintendo Switch had the lack of third party support due to the Wii U. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough battle, but it is doable for the Switch to outsell the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 4, which have eclipsed 1.5 billion units of software. Sorry about that. That was a little long, but I was just trying to prove my point. So, moving on, we have not gen comparison of Sony to Microsoft, PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series. So, here the thing is, because Sony has better first party support, the PlayStation 5 is starting to take off on the Xbox Series. Like, there are games in the USA that are actually selling better than the PlayStation 5, like Marvel Avengers, which actually is a game that propelled the Xbox Series in March 2021. Due to the lack of first-party support and the lack of new games that will come from third-party to the new 9th gen consoles, January and February for the Xbox Series barely scraped. Like February, weekly, it got like one week. It actually was only 20,000 units up, like in terms of software, above the 3DS, which is discontinued, and surprisingly, the 3DS actually does get some new games, but they're not any major games. So overall, in the last quarter, the PlayStation 5 has grown its lead by about 2.733 million units. And currently, the PlayStation 5 leads by about 3,003,000 units. So, while waiting about our source, I've been doing the sources. I've been actually looking at the company's reports, like earning releases to see the software sales, and I have also been looking at other reports, outside the company for the Xbox for Microsoft consoles. Xbox Series, I use my chart, and for the PlayStation, sorry, not for the PlayStation 5, the Xbox One, I use VG charts because yes, VG charts doesn't report software sales anymore as of start of 2019. I still have access to the software sales back from 2018, end of 2018, all the way back to November 2013 when the Xbox One launched. VCharts actually went back to the start of the 7th generation, but for the Xbox One, Xbox 360, I'm just using those stats also, okay? Just for your information. So, moving on. So, the PlayStation 4 is currently ahead of the PlayStation 5 launch line by just under 4 million units. Because the PlayStation 4 actually had a moderately big release in March, which, based off memory, it's called Thief. Correct me if I'm wrong. The PlayStation 5, but still saying that the PlayStation 5 is holding up well against the PlayStation 4. Its first 3 years aren't going to be too bad for the PlayStation 5, but its 4th year, 5th year, and 6th year are going to, and even 7th year are going to be quite a pain because of how good the PlayStation 4's third-party support was, like once it actually peaked. So it's going to be like a tough battle. I think it's more likely that the PlayStation 5 will outsell the PlayStation 4 in hardware. I think it's going to be a lot tougher in terms of software. So yeah. Comparing the Xbox Series to the Nintendo Switch, it's a little bit more in the Switch's flavor than it was with the PlayStation 5, because the Xbox Series is currently behind. But overall, yeah, the last quarter, Nintendo Switch has taken the lead, and has outsold the Xbox Series by 6.828 million units. Currently, though, the Nintendo Switch is ahead of the Xbox Series by about just under 6.5 million units. Based off how tough the Switch is actually putting up a fight with the PlayStation 5, I doubt that the Xbox Series will be able to catch the Nintendo Switch. But if it does have longevity, it might have a chance against the Xbox 360. But based off where it is currently, yes. So yeah, overall, it's like it seems to be doing like pretty good against the Switch, considering how well it's doing in terms of software. Like its software sales are, I would say, for me, they're much more impressive than how well the Switch is doing hardware wise, and that's saying it because like the Nintendo Switch's hardware sales are extremely impressive as well. So moving on. We're going to be comparing the Xbox Series to its predecessor, the Xbox One. So by looks of this, it seems like the Xbox Series seems to be beating it. Has been consistently beating it since December. With the Xbox One did close its gap because the Xbox Series didn't really get any new releases during January and February. January got Hitman free, but February there was like a completely dry month. March, yes, it did manage to grow, but that wasn't enough due to the lack of new releases for the Xbox Series, which wasn't as much of the case for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. In the last quarter, the Xbox One has closed onto the Xbox Series by about 560,000 units. Currently, though, the Xbox Series still leads by about 1.3 million units. One thing that was immaculate I noticed was that the Xbox One was able to stay so close to the PlayStation 4 in terms of software during its first year. It didn't actually fall that far behind, but in 2015 it barely grew, and it didn't really peak, like it didn't really have an obvious peak like the Wii did. Like the Wii had 24 million, then 2009 is 21 million, and then 2007 is 17 million. This is for hardware, by the way. But the Xbox One, both hardware and software, had no defined peak. It was like hardware wise, it was about 6 or 7 million for its first year, maybe 8 million for its second year, 8 million for its third year, maybe 9 million for its fourth year. These are estimates. So 8 million for its fifth year, 7 million, 5 million for its sixth year. So there's no defined peak. Xbox One software sales were a little bit more defined, but not by that much, which is why, yes, the first year is going to be tough for the Xbox Series, but if the Xbox Series doesn't have that same issue with the Xbox One, where it doesn't really grow year on year, and have a defined peak, then it's probably going to do just fine against the Xbox One. Like this one's currently eclipsed 400 million units based off my estimates. So yeah. Comparing the Xbox Series to the best-selling Microsoft console, it's both in terms of hardware and software, the Xbox 360. So the Xbox 360 actually had a very long life cycle, 1 year longer than the Xbox One, 1 year longer than the PlayStation 3, and it also peaked very late. It peaked in 2011 and launched in November 2005. So yeah, it peaked in its sixth full year. So yeah. It didn't really reach proper sales until about 2008, so its Xbox Series is probably going to be on easy street for its first 2 years. Actually, no, its software sales did spike in 2007. The software sales, overall for the Xbox 360 got, to 700,000 units a week, which is not too bad, and in 2008 onwards, it managed to consistently get above 1 million units of software a week. So 2007, unlike hardware, it actually spiked a little more because in 2007 it sold a lot more. It actually topped the yearly chart in terms of software in the US. So going into the comparison, in the last quarter, the Xbox Series has grown its lead by just over 1 million units. And currently, the Xbox Series leads by just under 7.5 million units. Okay, so that's our last comparison for the hardware, total software comparisons. Our next thing we're going to be doing is the individual software comparisons. So let's go into it. Our first comparison is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the best-selling Nintendo Switch game, versus the best-selling game in its franchise, Mario Kart Wii. So, like the Wii itself, Mario Kart Wii had a defined peak, and it ended up selling really well in general, particularly in its first 4 years. So 2008 was its best year. 2009, 10, and 11 were very good. 2012 took a big drop off. Yeah, and keep in mind, both of these games were bundled in with the console during holiday seasons. So there's there's no advantage or disadvantage to a game. So overall, launch aligned. In the last quarter, Mario Kart Deluxe uh outsold Mario Kart Wii by 1.45 million units. In the last 12 months, Mario Kart Deluxe has grown and overtaken Mario Kart Wii by about 5.18 million units. Currently, Mario Kart Deluxe leads Mario Kart Wii by just under 3 million units. Interesting thing about this comparison is also that they are perfectly launch aligned. Mario Kart Wii launched in April 2008, whilst Mario Kart Deluxe launched in April 2017. So the holiday season's perfectly aligned. Currently, Mario Kart Wii is in 2012, going into 2000, going to March 2012. So it's really going to take a little dip, and it's probably not going to get. Its active sales were at 37 million, so it did get some sales, and it did actually sell kind of consistently even after the Wii was discontinued. But it's the Market Deluxe is probably not to be the clear winner. I'm gonna give this comparison I'm gonna give it one more shot next quarter, because that by then it's likely that Mario Kart Deluxe would be just off, if not overtaken, the lifetime sales of Mario Kart Wii. Then I'll just stop this comparison. So yeah, this will be one of the last times you'll see it, and also one of the first times. So yeah. This one is going to be comparing Mario Kart Deluxe to the PlayStation 3. Unlike the contrary belief, I have a feel I think Mario Kart Deluxe has a chance against Wii Sports. I know a lot of people don't disagree with me, and I have like had chats with people on comments on other videos and also on my own videos saying that Mario Kart Deluxe is not gonna have a chance like at getting even 60 million. So I'm like, yeah, sure, but like Mario Kart Deluxe, my rebuttals, Mario Kart Deluxe is having like a really good evergreen game. Like it has a chance of having a life cycle as long as the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And it's also peaking very similar. It's like it actually sold 11 million in 2020, with the Xbox 360's peak being 13 million and PlayStation 3's peak being 14 million. So overall launch aligned, the PlayStation 3 has actually started to take a little bit of a considerable lead over Mario Kart Deluxe launch aligned, due to the PlayStation 3 Slim launch, making it tough for Mario Kart Deluxe to keep up. So in the last quarter, the PlayStation 3 has grown its lead by 559,000 units. In the last 12 months, the PlayStation 3 has grown over Mario Kart Deluxe by just for 3,878,846 units. Currently, the PlayStation 3 leads over Mario Kart Deluxe by 6.1 million units. Overall, I think the main deciding factor will be whether Mario Kart Deluxe will be able to grow on 2020, and even grow on its 2021 and 2022. This will be an interesting comparison as in the near future. Like the PlayStation 3 is about to go into its 2010 holiday season, so it's probably gonna take a considerable lead of Mario Kart Deluxe. But there's one other comparison that could change everything. That comparison is the Xbox 360. And believe it or not, Mario Kart Deluxe is ahead of the Xbox 360 launch aligned by 2.6 million units. Granted, the Xbox 360 hasn't had its S model launch, so the Xbox 360 S has not launched yet, and Kinect has not launched yet either. So the Xbox 360's main selling points haven't launched yet. So keep in mind of that. So currently the Xbox 360 is in October of 2009, and Mario Kart Deluxe is in March 2021. So in the last quarter, Mario Kart Deluxe has actually grown its lead of the Xbox 360 by 394,000 units. The last 12 months, the Xbox 360 has grown by about 323,000 units on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This would be because its holiday season 2008 was very strong, much stronger than 2007's holiday season, and actually stronger than 2009's holiday season. So that's why the Xbox 360 has gained ground. But in terms of actually like non-holiday months, then yeah, Mario Deluxe has probably grown ground on the Xbox 360. But because it's holiday season, Mario Deluxe has lost some ground. That was kind of like with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 back in the 7th generation wars. Particularly growing in 2010 after the Xbox 360 S launched. Actually going to 2011, because 2010 we had the S launch, and that kind of roughed things up and had the 360 staying ahead of the PlayStation 3 in the non-holiday season. But going to 2011, the PlayStation 3 led and closed it on the Xbox 360 in non-holiday seasons, but the Xbox 360 managed to pull itself and regain most of its ground in the holiday seasons. Granted, the PlayStation 3 was actually slowly gaining ground on the Xbox 360. And by 2013, because it had next-gen launch, and also the Xbox 360 was running out of steam, and in general, it was also the older consoles than the PlayStation 3, so it did take a little steeper decline than the PlayStation 3 did, and the holiday season just took a big dump, and in the latter half of its life, it didn't really sell that much more than the PlayStation 3, with its last year actually being completely outsold. I think every week of 2017 being outsold by the PlayStation 3. Yeah, so overall, yeah, that's all I have to say for this comparison. Okay, this comparison, it's kind of obvious which game is gonna win, but because of the huge launch of Animal Crossing New Horizons, I think it's a worthy comparison to try and see how long it can stay ahead of Wii Sports. It's kind of wondering, because considering Animal Crossing New Horizons had 11.77 million its first quarter, and sold over 10.5 million in its second quarter. but Wii Sports was like a full pack and bundle. So it's a little bit so it ends up reaching 80 million because of that. So overall, currently Wii Sports is in November of 2007, and Animal Crossing New Horizons is in March 2021. So in the last quarter, Wii Sports has gained ground on Animal Crossing New Horizons by about 2.05 million units. In the last 12 months, because March was cut off, Animal Crossing New Horizons has actually only gained ground on Wii. Actually, no. It's only grown its lead over Wii Sports in the last 12 months by 7.36 million units. Currently, though, the Animal Crossing New Horizons is ahead of Wii Sports launch line by 18.63 million units, meaning that it's probably going to take until about 2009 for Wii Sport. Actually, maybe it's probably going to take till about 2009 for Wii Sports to have a chance of catching Animal Crossing. So it's gonna take a while for Wii Sports to actually catch it, but type in the comments when do you think Wii Sports will overtake Animal Crossing launch aligned. Heading over to our last comparison, we have Mario Kart Deluxe versus Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So, overall, Mario Kart Deluxe has been selling better than Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, consistently overall, even in 2019. With Super Smash Bros. Launching in 2018, December 2018. So, the main reason why Mario Kart Deluxe is not ahead of Smash Bros. Launch aligned is because Super Smash Bros. Had a 12 million launch month, but after that it's all good. It's like an evergreen, but it didn't really have a commanding competition with Mario Kart Deluxe's evergreen status. And because Mario Kart Deluxe is also bundled during holidays, its holiday seasons are much more precise. They're much more identifiable. You can notice in the graph, the bumps in Mario Kart Deluxe holiday seasons are much more considerable than Super Smash Bros. Bumps, because Super Smash Bros. Ultimate doesn't get bundled with Nintendo Switch. So overall, in the last quarter, Mario Kart Deluxe, despite Super Smash, the last quarter, Mario Kart Deluxe has started to gain ground on Super Smash Bros. By 260,000 units. The last 12 months, Mario Kart Deluxe has grown ground on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate by 2.45 billion units. And currently, Super Smash Bros. Has a lead over Mario Kart Deluxe by about 5.59 million units. Overall, I think Smash Bros. Will probably be able to stay ahead of Mario Kart Deluxe and launch online to the end of 2019. But 2020, Mario Kart Deluxe actually did take a big spike after Animal Crossing New Horizons launch. It did take a spike, and it did sell much more than its previous years. Like 2017, 2018, 2019 were about 8 million, and 2020 it jumped up to 11 million, about 11 million. Super Smash Bros. Probably survive until 2019 and 2020, which by then Mario Kart Deluxe will have caught Super Smash Bros. And it closed down its lead. Okay, so with that being said, this video is over. Thank you for watching. Please, before you go, please remember to like and subscribe, and if you're interested, you can join the Discord where we discuss all things gaming. We can talk about Nintendo sales, so yeah, anything you guys want to talk about in gaming. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching. Bye.